first expert panelist founded and built the IT automation and established the IT strategy, duly delivering state-of-the-art IT systems and services of Dubai Land Department. He also helped deliver highly integrated services, meeting international standards and worldwide best practices for the Dubai Land Department. Please help me welcome to the stage the CEO and board member of Emirates Real Estate Solutions, Mr. Khalifa El Swedi. And our next expert manages Schneider's electric operations in 70-plus countries with more than 10,000 employees. He has more than 20 years of experience and is recognized as a thought leader for smart cities, digital transformation, and IoT. Please help me welcome to the stage President of the Middle East and Africa at Schneider Electric, Casper Herzberg. The next expert has 20 years of experience and oversees numerous projects to ensure they meet program baselines that balance sustainability and economic requirements. Please welcome to the stage the head of program management and marketing at Masdar, Steve Severance. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to kindly ask everyone to help us with a warm round of applause for our last panelist to get some of the energy back here in the room. So our final expert for this session has over 20 years of experience and is in charge of leading the strategic planning for Smart City and 5G for Business. Please welcome to the stage the Senior Director, Head of Construction, Infrastructure, and Hospitality at Ittisalat, Fadi Shana.
We have an exciting panel here to discuss the future of cities. Interesting fact, 2 million people move to cities every week. That's building a city for 2 million. We must change how we build them. They must be smarter, more intelligent, but most important, sustainable. So I'd like to start with Steve, taking it from very high level where we look at a city in itself, Masdar, a project that was extremely ambitious that got headlines all over the world. So Steve, I'd like to ask you, what is the overlap with sustainable and smart, and how have you seen change over the past few years?
Well, I'm really glad you asked that, because a lot of people think, oh, you are sustainable, you must be smart. And I think we've changed smart in the last 10 years since we've started, and that we start with smart as the icing on the cake, not the cake itself. That we start with the master plan, and we looked at it and said, how would we build this city if there were no air conditioning? If we didn't have air conditioning, what would we do? Well, we'd put streets close together. We'd shift the whole city to catch the prevailing winds. We'd have, in the old days, we'd have thick walls, but now we have more efficient facades. We'd have smaller windows. We'd shade them. So everything we do is about how do we use less, but also how do we improve your outdoor lifestyle. If the buildings shade each other, it's better to walk. If you have courtyards where you have cafes and restaurants and retail activities, you can walk to those. Every time you don't have to get in a car, but you can walk or ride your bike, we think that's sustainable. That's the most sustainable journey you can make. And then on top of it, we add the electric transportation, autonomous transportation, and then we get to the smart buildings. At the building level, how do we use the data and the analytics to improve our building performance? Because we're all about demonstrating how do we reduce energy consumption. And what the project we're working on right now is how do we consolidate that at the city level, both for our own learning, but then also the proof of concept for what we've done and demonstrating to other people.
And with that, when it comes to the technology, have you seen an evolution or change from the early 2000s when the concept of a smart city first came out and what it is today with companies like Schneider Electric?
Absolutely. First, the availability of connectivity. So IoT, these were not things we're talking about. Artificial intelligence. And oftentimes, and I'm guilty of it myself sometimes, using the words more than I understand them completely. I think we can admit that. But the availability of the sensors, the availability of the connectivity, and the availability of the data has changed completely, but also how we expect to interact with it. 10 years ago, you could actually have an entire dinner without anyone looking at their phone because there was nothing to do on it. Now, the way we expect to see data and the way we need to connect with our community is through data and through the phone. That's how they look for everything else. And we need to get better at how we're engaging with them around the sustainability. And part of it is, I'm going to put Schneider on the spot here a little bit, because it's a company of engineers, for engineers, by engineers. It produces mission-critical infrastructure that we rely on to run our buildings. If the Schneider fire system goes down at the wrong time, people die. We can't afford this. But we're also, and it's not just Schneider, it's all the engineers are not often very good at communicating to the general public what a kilowatt hour is, or what their consumption looks like, or how they can be involved in the sustainability journey. And I think that's the next step that we need to take with our partners like Schneider. And Schneider's been a partner with us for the full 10 years that I've been at Masdar. So happy to have you on stage here with us. But it's a step that we both need to take together to engage that community digitally as well as in the physical way we're doing it now.
Yeah, Casper, what do you think about that? You know, there's been an evolution, and you know, Schneider has been a major player in this.
There has. Well, first of all, I have to say, when you asked him that question, for a moment my heart stopped. And, I was worried he would say no. Yeah. So, look, yes, we are a company that originally provides energy management solutions, industrial automation. We are a company of engineers. This is very true. But we're also now a company that builds really the digital foundation, the energy foundation that powers the digital economy, that powers smart cities, that powers Masdar. Indeed,
Absolutely.
we partnered with Masdar very early on, pioneered together, learned together, failed together sometimes. I mean, that's for sure. The way I look at smart city and sustainability is really very simple. I mean, ultimately, as you said, a smart city is made out of smart buildings. Smart buildings are fundamentally made out of buildings that have building management systems and many, many, many different sensors connected. I think one of the revolutions of the last years, and one that we are going to see accelerating in the next couple of years, is really microsensors. And the fact that you don't have 2, 3, 4 sensors in a room, but 50, 100, 200, and that the price points of these sensors are coming down to the point that you can put them into affordable housing, like we have said, like we have discussed earlier. And that means that, to use the words of His Excellency Marwan, that a smart city is becoming increasingly a happy city, where you feel good being in its buildings, where the airflow, the humidity, the temperature, everything is exactly right and very energy efficient. Because the other big thing, of course, if you aggregate buildings at a scale, and the downside of urbanization is the fact that the planet can't afford it. That in 40, 50 years, we will all not be here if we continue to consume energy at the same level. And maybe the last point to say is that we connect then, of course, the smart buildings with the smart grid and with smart water, and also reduce losses of energy, of water at scale, both in existing cities, both in new cities like Masdar and in existing cities like Cairo. Right. I mean, if you can get water right in Cairo and you stop wasting water in Cairo and many other, both cities in England or in the Middle East, I think we're going to create a much more sustainable planet.
Right. No, thank you. I absolutely love the part where you talked about sensing, because I think today we have information about how our cities work, and we can optimize for that. With that, we create data. And I would like to ask Fadi, what is the role of telecom in the digital city revolution? And where is Etisalat today at?
Yep, thanks, Marwan. Well, actually, I mean, if you look at the smart city definition at itself, I mean, there are a lot of definitions has been there for years now. A lot of like international bodies and associations, they try to define what's smart city or what makes a city smart, actually. There's one common thing there, that it's all talking about sensing, connecting sensors, and transferring data to somewhere and do something useful for this data and take decisions. So connectivity is at the core of the smart city. I mean, there's no smart city if there's no connectivity. So With that, telecom has really a huge role to play in this equation, right? Now, as a telecom operators, there are, I mean, globally, there have been many models of where telecom operators has been engaged in a smart city projects. And there are different types of models where telecom engaged. Some telecom operators, they've just provided connectivity. So maybe they enhanced services and they went into introducing a new type of connectivities, NB-IoT, LP1 technology, SIG-FOX, all of these things, LoRa and sensing networks. But they've limited their role of just providing connectivity and going into, you know, even from revenue perspective, just charging per data usage and all of these things. Some other telecom operators, they have went up in the value chain and they've started to enable or to provide platforms that enable smart city solutions. Things like cloud computing and platforms for operations and analytics and big data. And there are other telecom operators where they have really took this very serious, definitely. And this is what we have done in Etisalat. And they went up in the value chain to be a co-operators with city operators, to build the complete value chain required and enablement infrastructure to partner with city operators and developers and provide an end-to-end solution, including services. So what we have done actually at Etisalat in the last 4 or 5 years, they have transformed massively. And that's why I joined Etisalat, frankly speaking, because I'm not a telecom guy. And the idea is that there have been a massive investment in terms of like building the internal capabilities and platforms to support smart city initiatives, what we call smart city as a service. What we believe actually as a national telecom operator and one of the leading in the region, that the role of the telecom is not limited to just providing connectivity. It is a key player in the whole equation. I mean, there's no smart city without the ecosystem, definitely. So we cannot work alone without our ecosystem of partners. So a telecom operator has to work with Schneider, has to work with other companies, technology, and even startups and innovation is part of the equation in building this overall journey. Because smart city is a journey, it's not a box that you buy, right? And for that, we have built our in-house capabilities to enable this ecosystem of partners to provide the right solutions for our client, not as a vendor or a buyer-seller relationship, but as really a cooperation partner that goes with the city operators for a long-term engagements. And for that, we have built our command and control centers, 24/7 support, where we today enable districts and cities in providing the infrastructure required, the hardware, the sensors, and the applications, and all the cloud infrastructure to host the data and do the analytics, and even address those alarms and information coming from their cities. So doing operation as a service is what we do. And for that, I mean, we have many examples. One of them, we're very proud to do the largest IoT deployment, maybe one of the largest in the world, which is Hassantuk project with the government, where we're going to connect all of the villas in the country with the smart sensing networks for fire detection. And today, we are managing those alarms in our command and control center. We're filtering them before we send it back to the civil defense and MOI.
Yeah. So Dubai is the Silicon Valley for real estate. And a big reason for that is how the government has intervened and supported a lot of these ambitious projects. So here, I would like to ask Khalifa, we have a lot of data being generated. What are you doing to help create efficiency and simplicity for the customer?
Okay, Marwan, before we relate to the data, you know, the type of people that deals in real estate sector are, you know, many different types. We deal with developers, property managers, we deal with owner associations, brokers. So many elements are part of the real estate community. And the data that are being generated from those different elements and community are huge. One of the government initiative that has been introduced a few years ago is what we call Dubai Open Data. Land Department has been participating in open data, in providing real estate data to the public, to the private sector, where they can, you know, create, develop solutions that can be beneficial for the for Dubai and for the real estate community. But from land department perspective, one of the initiatives that we have launched in 2017 is Dubai Real Estate Blockchain. The implementation of blockchain was to try to bring the real estate community together. So a developer who wants to sell an off-plan unit, a title deed need to be issued from land department, NOC has to be generated from owner association, a broker is part of such deal, or maybe, let's say, a buyer want to lease the unit once he purchase it or mortgage it in the bank. So we looked at the real estate community. It's a huge, so many elements, so many different partners. So we came with the concept Dubai Real Estate Blockchain. It's a blockchain solution that has the ownership data and the title deeds, where I can allow each partner, whether it is coming from private sector or government sector, to utilize the right data so that they can conduct their services in an easy way. Real estate journeys, as a customer, as let's say an investor inside Dubai, why do they buy a property? They buy a property to move to that certain property, or maybe they buy a property to do business, such as leasing it. So it is a complete journey. I don't want the investor to go to the developer and try to find the right opportunity, or maybe find with the broker so many opportunities and then move to a registration office where he can register this property transaction and then go to a bank to mortgage the property. It's a long journey, and that's why blockchain is helping us in creating what we call real estate journeys. A journey where allowing the investor, to just from a center point, from one mobile application, to buy off plan, register it, issue the title deed, or maybe sell it, or mortgage it, or release it again in our listing services or any other listing services, or for example, open a business and integrate it with the utility, of course, such as Ittisalat, telecommunication. If I buy a property, I'm going to move into that property, so I need telecommunication, I need electricity. So that's why those services are being, presented from the same platform, a platform that those partners, developer, government sector, or utility provider can, contribute and participate. And this is where, sustainability can be also a part of it. Those properties, those registry, blockchain registry that we have made available, we invite private sector, we invite, government sector, we invite the, real estate community to utilize such platform to bring ideas. One of the people I met in 2 years ago, he said, well, you created, registering a rental contract through blockchain. This is one of the solutions that we have launched. It consists maybe around between 7 entities into one mobile application. And actually, we didn't only launched it in Dubai Real Estate Wallet System, the one we launched from Land Department, but we also launched it inside Dubai Now, the Smart Dubai mobile application. So he told me everything has been automated except one thing. You still, the tenant still has to go to the landlord to, take the physical key. I told him, what are you proposing? He said, okay, I have automated locks. I would like to integrate my service with that. This kind of idea we would like to, work with. We invite, those partners to come and utilize the data. We have issued SDKs. We have the data that can make partner, utilize such data to benefit the investor, the owners, the developer, whoever inside Dubai. What's the word that His Excellency Marwan bin Ghalita mentioned? Happiness. We want to provide happiness to the community inside Dubai. We've got more than 200 nationalities owning property inside Dubai right now. And we are proud of it. And we consider them part of the community.
Thank you. Well, if the city is a platform, we have hardware and software. So clearly when we're trying to create more intelligent, digital cities, we have what Schneider is doing, installing, the gadgets. And then at the same time, we have the software where Etisalat as a telecom operator and Emirates Real Estate Solutions are coming in. What I'd like to ask is more about the education, because at the end you have the customer, which are the people who live in the city. A lot is going on, and it becomes a challenge. Everything that you're doing, how do you get the word out? And at the same time with Schneider, when you're trying to reach out to real estate developers to develop smarter and better, where design is key, I'd like to hear from both of you, Khalifa. Or Casper.
Thank you. I'd like to admit that we're not doing very well in terms of marketing what we have been doing inside real estate solutions, Emirates Real Estate Solutions specifically. Emirates Real Estate Solution has been developing lots of solutions for the real estate community. I know so many developers are sitting right now over here. Are you using Okuti tool? The tool that, register off-plan transaction from your office. This is one of the tools that we have developed. Ijari, the rental contract application that is being utilized by property manager. This is one of the tools that we have developed. Now, Mr. Marwan, His Excellency Marwan bin Ghalita has spoke about Dubai Rest, the mobile application that you have seen. I wonder if someone have tried already to download it from the, mobile store. It is available. This is one of the things that we face from time to time. I meet lots of people who ask me how this developer is doing. Is he doing very well, or have you dealt with this broker? Did you hear about this broker? We have full transparency. The data are available inside the mobile application. You can view yourself all type of data. And one of the initiatives that we have done inside Land Department is to have, the Real Estate Institute. And it is an institute to educate, to aware people of things that are happening inside the real estate community. But I believe we still have to do more. We have to, spread the right word inside the real estate community, spread the happiness word to the, investor who wanting to come to Dubai market, and this is something that we will look in the future.
Yeah. And Casper, how's Schneider getting the word out that developers should,
I sympathize because I often feel not enough. But look, ultimately we're very fortunate because we've been, as a company, in real estate, in supplying the electrical infrastructure, right, for 40, 50 years, right? So that gives us a very good platform and a level of knowledge with real estate developers, with architects, with consultants, with, the community that builds, right? And the community that operates. And what we've done now in the last couple of years is that we are connecting all the different parts of the building, connecting the electrical infrastructure, the building management system, and as I mentioned, the sensors. And then ultimately we're translating that into services that a facility manager can use, services that a end user, the end customer can use to create a better, to receive a better experience. A lot of that is explained, through marketing, to real estate developers, to ultimately also end users. A lot of that is targeted more at government, at legislation, and at government and at legislation, because the benefit is a national benefit, right, of reducing energy consumption. It's not just a personal benefit for the person that has a significantly lower energy bill. Right? So I think if there's one area where Dubai is really pioneering globally, it is the way this city is able to react very, very quickly to technological advances and codify that into, fairly easily followable instructions for people who want to operate, do business here. I think this is why it's doing so well.
Yeah, one of those examples would be 5G technology, and Etisalat is being a pioneer in the region around that. I'd like to ask, just before we open it up to questions, Steve, Masdar started something incredible. What is your take on the future of Masdar, and where are we going? And perhaps what kind of partnerships are needed to create more of these projects that the region is leading around the world when it comes to sustainability and intelligent, smart-driven cities?
First, thank you for that. We always like to hear it. And I'm glad to have a couple of our partners on stage with me, the couple of partnerships that we need to create. Because we've done, I think Masdar did a very good job at sustainability. Both from, and if I look at 4 areas of sustainability, we're active in all of them. How do we produce energy? So we have seen a massive change. By the way, this is one of the great success stories, not just of Masdar, but of the UAE and the region, of how in the last 10 years we've changed around renewable energy. And actually, many people won't know this here, but leading the world in terms of setting world record pricing in reduction. When I came to Masdar, solar power was uneconomic, flat out uneconomic. We put the first 10 megawatts in at Masdar, not because we wanted to make money on it. It was not a money-making project. It was a stake in the ground, and it had to be done. Abu Dhabi then put a 100-megawatt stake in the ground. Also, to be honest, uneconomic. But the next time, the next 200 megawatts in Dubai was economic. The next 800 megawatts was 3 cents a kilowatt hour. Our current pricing, and we've attracted competitors for this. This is an attractive business. We're not the only ones doing this anymore, like we're not the only ones doing sustainable real estate. So I think we've really been a catalyst, but you're now looking at pricing below 2 cents a kilowatt hour. Renewable energy is absolutely the cheapest energy on earth, bar none, anywhere in the world. This has been a massive shift change, and Masdar and the UAE have been a big part of that, and I think I think sometimes that doesn't get the publicity that it should. But the second is how we consume it, and in the UAE we still consume a lot of it. The third is, how do we get around? And as the energy gets cleaner, as things like LED lighting, as better cooling systems come on, more and more of our carbon output is coming from transportation and less from the energy grid itself. And then finally, how do we eat? And then we have projects in Masdar that are doing container farming that would not have been possible 10 years ago without the smart systems and without the LED lighting that is now commonplace. So we're producing about 10 kilos of leafy greens with 20 liters of water. For comparison, you use 60 liters of water to have a shower. So about the time, a 30-year shower consumption produces 10 liters of leafy greens that Masdar are sitting out, which we've done projects in all these areas. But to get to the next stage, where we're really saying, okay, how do we digitize this? In fact, we're in the middle of a digital transformation project right now, and both the gentlemen on my sides know about this, where we're going to need to have partnerships that provide that information base, that full connectivity between all the sensors, because even 10 years ago, we're looking at some building retrogrades. We're looking at upgrades to the connectivity that was not available or affordable 10 years ago, to the sensors that were not available 10 years ago, to the software that wasn't available, and then to taking that out of the the engineer area and taking it out to the people that are living there. And that's where we're not a team full of thousands of engineers. We don't have that ability to create that connectivity. So we need people like that are sitting next to us to bring that. And when I see the 10 years in the future, I see that integration between how we produce energy, how we consume energy, and transportation. Because it's not just about how much you consume, it's about the time of day you consume it. So when we look, we don't have anyone from the utility companies on here, but we have to think about how do we integrate all of that renewable energy that's coming on board, because it's the cheapest, and store it, use it for our vehicles. How do we better sources out of that? And I think that, Masdar, working with the companies like that we see here, will be pioneering all those in the future.
Right. Thank you. And I guess what's very important is that as tech-centric as we should be, we should also be very human-centric. Is that the only reason we're doing all this is to serve people, to serve the planet in itself. So I'm going to open up to questions. There we go. All right.
Maybe you can read them. So
I'm going to read it. So how can you guarantee the respect of privacy when using sensors? Who would like to start to ask that?
yeah.
I guess, Casper, you started with the sensors.
Okay, well, it's the big topic, right? It's the big global topic. I think ultimately it comes also back down to legislation. And this is, I think, where we as a community need to educate ourselves more on the ethics of data, and as a global community. And then it is up to governments you know, with input from the community to legislate what data can be used and how, right? And again, I think stringent data laws are actually a good thing. I do.
Yeah.
Yes, I'd like to add. In the Open Data Initiative that has been issued by government of Dubai, there are certain data that are open for the people, for the private sector or for the individual. Those sensors, for example, in the streets or sensors inside certain of the buildings, some of the data that are already available. But when it comes to the to the community itself, to the how such data will bring added value to the people, this is something eventually they will accept. The data that are being sensed are not directly related to very concerned privacy matters, and this is my take. I feel that those data that we extract are a good thing for the planet, for the people, for the children, and for the community.
Second question. Thank you. What is the next big thing that might disrupt the smart cities development? Fadi, the greatest innovation is that has yet to be built. So what's next?
I think it's the 5G story. So 5G is, I'm sure that everyone hears about the 5G story. It became even political word that you hear it. It created a lot of destruction in the market. Now, why 5G is really a change in the new way we develop cities, because 5G as a technology, from capability perspective, it's something that we've never experienced before. This is part of we're actually very fortunate that we're in a country from leadership perspective, they have this vision, and we have been in a country that has been one of the first globally and the first actually in the Middle East and Africa to deploy a commercial 5G network. So the story of the 5G is why it's different, because 5G as a technology, I don't want to go into details technically, but it's not just in high speed. It's not just for the consumer usage that, okay, I'm going to have this unlimited type of data and the speed is massive, so I can have all of kind of gaming and all of this thing. This is one part of it. This is for consumer. But from business perspective, when Etisalat took the decision to make this massive investment for this year to be leader in 5G, we didn't do it because of the consumer only. That's why, and from strategy perspective, is that today we are engaged with the different verticals and business users into the way they do business and why do they need 5G for. And actually, Masdar is one of them. So basically, we're in talk now into why those strategic clients, like a city like Masdar or a port or an airport, do they need 5G and what's in it for them? This, I'm telling you now, the 5G technology, the adoption will come, definitely, and everyone knows about it. The way we design city from infrastructure perspective is going to be different in the future because of the capability of 5G. Ideally, it's going to be the network of everything because of the capability from bandwidth perspective, latency perspective, and what's important is that 5G, the technology has what we call slicing, where you can start creating private networks over wireless. So imagine city services in the future cities that requires today a huge investment from fiber perspective and communities and fiber to home and everything. We're lucky in a country that fiber to home is everywhere. We're one of the top globally, actually. But in other countries where the cost of laying fiber to everywhere is very massive, 5G is a solution for that. And with the capability of this slicing, you'll be able to run city services over private networks. Think about, for example, the national-wide ambulance that you have network in the country. We'll be able to give a network for all the ambulances there to communicate with street infrastructure and with traffic lights and with hospitals in a private, secured way and manner. This is what 5G brings to the future. And that's why, from design perspective for future cities, a lot of things will be different from infrastructure perspective.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So this is...
Do I get one shot at that?
Yeah.
Just for fun. Autonomous transportation.
Yes.
And this is going to be, and to have the true benefits of autonomous, we're going to need 5G. Individual at the beginning, I think the cars will be by themselves, but you'll see no benefits for traffic management. You'll see safer cars. You'll see absolutely different economic models around delivery, different experiences around driving. But to get the true benefit of the traffic management and more cars working closer together, that's when you need the 5G.
Of course.
But to me, autonomous transportation in the next 10 years
one of the major things.
changes the way we move.
Yeah.
And so, by the way, this is the marketing pitch. Come out to Masdar,
To see
try
it.
both our autonomous, try both our driverless systems. It's one of the highlights of coming to visit. That's the marketing pitch. All done.
We'll power it by 5G for you.
And we are gonna. We're working on a pilot with you guys for 5G. I can't wait to see what comes out of that.
Yeah, sure.
Casper, you had one.
Well, in support of that, what I think what needs to happen then is that the data migrates back from the cloud closer to the edge, closer to where you deploy the autonomous transportation. Because with autonomous transportation, you cannot have latency, meaning you can't wait for something to happen. It needs to be very, very close. And that means that there is going to be a data center boom wherever you deploy it.
Schneider will do it.
So,
Well, thank you. Thank you so much, gentlemen. Again, every week we have to build a city for 2 million. The opportunity is massive. We have a responsibility, and this is happening. It's not just...
Sorry, we have one question from Mr. Atif Danube.
Laurent, I have two questions. We're talking about the 5G technology, and three gentlemen, Casper, Steve, and Fadi. We talk about 5G technology, but no one talks about the radiation that the 5G technology is going to create, number one. And number two, we continuously talk about sustainability through smart city, but I think none of the smart solutions are financially sustainable, number one. None of them. As a developer, if I want to find one supplier, one vendor who can give me smart solution, which is first financially sustainable before we talk about any other form of sustainability, it doesn't exist. So how do we actually overcome this challenge of financial unsustainability in any smart solution? So 5G radiation and the unsustainability, financial unsustainability of any smart solution. Okay. Two questions.
okay.
Well, I have answer for both, but you can start with you take one, I take one.
The business case. Yeah.
Okay, you want the one for the business
You do the
model or
radiation.
the radiation? Okay, so this is the question I'm always dealing with, definitely. And yeah, we're hearing in the, of course, in the news and everything about the health aspect of the 5G and all of these things, and these are the concerns, which is the same thing happened with every wireless technology came to the market. So if you, so there's no, I would say scientific perspective, there are a lot of researches happening about how bad is this, how good is that, and all of these things. But one thing I'm sure of, and this is my own opinion, the Wi-Fi router you have next to your bed is more harmful for you than the 5G technology in the streets. So wireless technology itself, I mean, it has been there for ages now. And the healthcare or health aspect of that is not really something that has been proven. Now, from our perspective, when we deploy 5G technology, it all like equipment has been approved by all the national federations. It has been approved by the TRA here and imported to the country legally and everything. So as a company, we're a telecom operator. We're not the manufacturers, and all the manufacturer partners has been gone through all of these approval requests or approval stages for their technology. So this is what I can say.
But Fadi, you know that China was the first one to develop the 5G technology, and till date they are unable to go live with it. They've been ready, but they are unable to go live with it. I travel a lot to China. I know about the technology and their technological infrastructure. They've not been able to go live with the fear of the radiation.
Yes, I mean, this is what I'm saying. There is resistance from cities where, I mean, even in the US, some cities are resisting, some cities they have started. It's a big debate, frankly speaking. I mean, here, from our perspective, we are deploying it according to, I mean, as a Salat perspective. Now, there are different technologies in terms of also 5G. I mean, there's the tower 5G things, and there's the small microwave and everything. Now, how bad is that? How good is that? All of these things are topics still under discussions. Maybe I'm not the right person technically to answer that, but we're actually, we believe that 5G is happening. I mean, this is not a theory or something. We know that it's a big power game, and you have seen it, all what's happening between the US and China because of 5G. So we're very glad to be ahead of the race. We're very glad to be providing the service to the country and supporting the country vision.
So since we've gone over time, we'll just answer the financial question.
I'll be super quick. So I think financial sustainability of smart buildings, I think the business case for an operator, right, for anybody who operates a building is fairly well established, that ultimately the reduction in energy consumptions, you know, over a few years more than pays for whatever smart infrastructure you put in place, right? So I think this is the first question. Now, it's true that the more you put gadgets, the more it costs money, right? Which is why it's very important to start with the outcome that you want to achieve, right? So let's say reduced energy consumption, and then work backwards to what you really need in your building, as opposed to the other way around, right? That's definitely true. But there is a second point to that. One is that at a global level, including here, we cannot afford to cool, to heat and to cool the buildings the way we have for the past 50 years. We cannot do his urbanization of 2 million people every hour, every year, every week. We just, as a planet, can't do that. And I think the events of the last couple of years, the last couple of summers in Western Europe and the US show that, right? So there is both, we as a company, me personally, believe financial sustainability, but there is the bigger question that we just can't continue the way we have, you know, because we're not going to be there, right?
Here's 1 second. I'll take on a couple that do it. And these may not be smart or digital, but they're absolutely things that will save not just the end user, but the developer money. Size your district cooling right. Use smaller pipes, use smaller fan coil units, use smaller MEP rooms, increase your net to gross ratio by doing that. Sensor lights are something that are absolutely payback period is almost weeks. LED lighting is now standard across here. And we would be happy as Masdar to put solar panels on the rooftops of all your low-rise building that would cover your common area and will actually charge you less than the going rate for electricity. You'll save money on day one, and we'll make money doing it.
Yeah, it's a perfect ending. If you don't innovate, you'll be left behind, I guess. Well, thank you, guys. I appreciate your perspectives, and thank you to the audience, especially for the great questions. Thank you.
Thank you very much to the panel. Thank you, Marwan.